Like, why is it like guaranteed that we're getting lies?
Yeah, because it's the game talking. And this is not a shot at him, but he's very extra. Like he lie. Everybody know he lie. But they be good lies though.
And I used to think Eminem was better than me.
What you saying right now?
He's not. Challenge. Hey, challenge it.
Game, you don't want to go versus against
Yes,
Eminem.
I do.
Spoke about Game, and was there anybody that you felt like you left on stage, or you was good with it?
No, I was good.
Would be the Game, if it were a Compton Piru with his legendary efforts. The guy went from being among the coldest in the rap industry to becoming a prime illustration of lost potential. He remained true to himself despite the little disputes, silly pranks, and ridiculous stories.
Hey, why? You photoshopped yourself on someone else and put a picture out with you and Pac. It's Pac, but it's not you.
And of course, from former pals to colleagues in the industry, everyone has called out the clout chasing, revealed the lies, and depicted him as someone who was constantly stumbling over his own ego. Let's dissect everything. Without a doubt, the Game did not originate from a soft background. His family lived a life deeply rooted in the streets, where he grew up. He nearly died as a result of it. However, his propensity to embellish, exaggerate, or outright lie about his history in order to make himself appear harder than he actually was is one of the main issues that many in the profession have with him. The long-standing claim that the Game was a male stripper before he entered the rap game is among the more bizarre examples of this. This idea has been around for years, and it was further stoked when a picture appeared of him wearing what appeared to be a thong. Naturally, one of the strongest voices criticizing him for it was 50 Cent. 50 frequently clowned the Game about his purported stripper passed on Gun It Radio throughout their feud. That didn't sit well with the Game, and he naturally went into complete denial. He said the picture was fraudulent, claimed it was photoshopped. And in an attempt to damage his reputation, they even accused 50 of being responsible. My head was placed on a stripper's body. Dude, and I want to say that it was 50, bro. However, what? Leave this place. That's absurd. Dude, however, it didn't take long for those who were familiar with the Game before he blew up to come out. Even if someone wanted to claim that 50 was just being petty. Furthermore, one of the most damning confirmations didn't even originate from a rival or hater. It originated with Sababu, the Game's own stepfather. Sababu revealed some information in a documentary about Compton's hip-hop heritage. It's likely that the Game wishes were never released. He claims that he used to own a male exotic dance club with the mother of the Game. The club's entire concept was to gain money by giving away to men who had just been released from prison. Many of these men were just released after working out and incarcerated, yet their backgrounds prevented them from obtaining respectable employment. Thus, the club provided them with a means of making money. Additionally, some of them were dancing for up to $1,000 a week. Well, I founded a male exotic club with Game's mother. We used to get individuals who had recently been released from jail. Many of these guys are unable to apply for jobs. However, if they appear well, they have been exercising. Man, we pay them $1,000 per week to dance. Then Sababu revealed the truth. The Game, whose actual name is Gian Taylor, may have danced twice at the club. He also said that because it was real, 50 Cent had every right to drag the Game over it. 50 Cent won't let Jayon forget that he danced maybe twice. Sababu gave the Game straightforward advice. Simply acknowledge it. Take ownership of it, and don't let it bother you. However, the Game disregarded that recommendation. He repeatedly denied it, and it only made matters worse because everyone was ready to make fun of him and bring up the stripper rumors. Whenever he attempted to seem tougher or more menacing, he carried that same energy into other feuds, such as the one he had with Young Thug. Game's decision to become involved in conflict that wasn't even his was the catalyst for the entire incident. He confronted Young Thug for making fun of Lil Wayne at a performance in New Orleans. Music, this mom, I was awake. Thug was not amused by that. He retaliated on Instagram by bringing up his alleged stripper days and making fun of the Game's gangbanging past. To emphasize the point, one of Thug's boys even displayed a gun in the video. I don't want to smoke with you since you used to be a _ and now you're blood. Your team consists of Crips and Bloods. And you used to be a male stripper. I don't want to fight you because of this. I don't want any germs from you. You are aware that I am in Los Angeles, which is quite unfortunate. Naturally, the Game was not going to overlook that, and he retaliated on Instagram by threatening to meet Thug wherever he had his nails done. Before long, family members were being referenced as the back and forth intensified. Things started to get rather bad at that point. However, the beef appeared to have cooled off over time. The rapper's mutual acquaintance, Jojo Capone, reportedly assisted in mediating the dispute. They both announced it was ended on social media. For a little while, it appeared as though everything had returned to normal. They want all black people to murder one another. But we're not. Black Lives Matter. I salute the bunch. Then, I admire him. Even though he was incorrect, I apologize for posting about him. I watched a video of this thug, and I believe it takes a true person to apologize and flee. The next step, in my opinion, is to bury him in Ton, because Ton, and then get Ton and Birdman to settle their underscore and resume receiving their money. You know, however, the game was unable to resist. Shortly later, he appeared on The Breakfast Club and began boasting about how the beef actually ended in an attempt to project an air of superiority. He began capping, as was to be expected. Doug and I had a brief exchange. You see, yes, it happened quite quickly. What about that? Yes, really quickly. That was the fastest back and forth I've ever seen. You know, it becomes real. You know, the game is ridiculous. You know, I also went to Young Thug, wasn't having it in Atlanta immediately after it began. He immediately returned to the internet, called the game out, and even posted an apology video. That quickly put everything in perspective. Pee Wee Roscoe, a close friend of Young Thug, verified the story if anyone was still unsure. He claimed to have apprehended the game's manager, Whack 100, at the mall and immediately forced the game to issue an apology. That essentially proved that the game was fabricating the events. You were also busted at the mall when you went outside during game call. His nasty battle with Meek Mill would reveal yet another of the game's lies. The majority of people recall this beef. Sean Kingston was involved. Kingston was robbed of over $300,000 worth of jewelry at a nightclub in Los Angeles. Back in June 2016, Meek Mill and the game we happened to be in the club on the same evening. Early reports claim that the game thought Meek had turned on him and that Meek and Kingston had reported him to the police as the thief. The entire dispute erupted in an instant. From the exterior, it appeared similar to a classic instance of the game trying to make fun of someone who was already struggling. At the time, Meek and Drake were still embroiled in a vicious feud that he wasn't exactly winning. Perhaps the game thought Meek was a simple target. However, things did not turn out the way he had anticipated this time. This is due to the fact that when Meek Mill challenged the game to travel to Philadelphia, the game's custom of appearing tougher ultimately backfired. In an attempt to appear slick, the game included a photo of a Philly cheese steakcake, suggesting that he had already arrived in Meek City. However, things fell apart very soon. Shortly after the Max's Steaks, the location the game was feigning to visit, was overrun by some Philadelphia thugs after the post went up, and the game was nowhere to be seen. People even asked the staff if he had ever been there, just to be sure, and they said he hadn't. With the game in here, another cap is exposed. The game of rapper. He never shows up. The man with the tattoos and beard, the rapper, is never present. No. Was the rapper game in? Was there a purr in a game? The game of rapper. Was he present? Yes, it is correct. However, the drama didn't end there. When the game began pointing fingers once more, Sean Kingston was pulled into it. Kingston emerged and said that neither he nor Meek had spoken to the police about the crime, nor had they ever talked about it together. However, the game was not attempting to detect that. In a video, he attacked Sean, accusing him of being a snitch and said that Kingston's stolen chain was the reason. The police had visited his home. After that, you filed a lawsuit against the club and phoned the police. You then called the police while Meek was on the phone, allowing him to accuse me and my group of robbing you. My cot and door were being knocked on by detectives. You the same, your mama was a underscore you a blood. Listen to you fake, you a stripper. The whole world knows. Sean Kingston clapped back, criticizing the game for his phony tough man attitude, exposing his history as a dancer, and airing all the allegations that had been going around for years that didn't take long for the whole thing to fall apart on the game's end. When authorities got involved, they made it clear that the game was never even considered a suspect in the jewelry case, which means that nobody came to his house, nobody questioned him, and all that the feds came knocking talk was pure fiction. To top it off, people started questioning a screenshot the game posted on Instagram that appeared to show missed calls from Meek Mill. The game's lies, however, extend far and wide, touching nearly every aspect of his career. Take his notorious butterfly tattoo, for instance. In the beginning, the game appeared with a huge butterfly inked on his face. It was bull, but it also gave people a field day clowning him. For a guy trying so hard to project a hardcore gangster image, rocking a butterfly on his cheek wasn't exactly helping the cause. So he eventually covered it up with a star, and when he was finally asked why he covered it up, the game didn't even keep it real. Rather than acknowledging that it might not be the best look for a gangster rapper, he blamed the tattoo artist, saying the butterfly wasn't drawn correctly, so he had to get rid of it. Why did you decide to do the LA over the butterfly? 'Cause I got it when I was in New York. But he ain't done it right. You know what I'm saying? And it ended up looking like I got a butterfly once. It meant something to me, and now I'm in a different place. Instead, he gave a flimsy excuse that just made him look like he was ducking the smoke. This wasn't the only time people began to doubt the game's authenticity. If you were around during the mixtape era, you probably heard whispers about his freestyle. Fans are sharp, and they started it didn't look good for a rapper who took pride in his lyrical prowess. Music, but I love Casket, but I love Millions. They like Gang Where You Been, Gang Chilling. Then there were the reality TV stunts. At first, some people dismissed the game's repeated use of the same bars in what he claimed were off the top. However, after hearing the same lines repeated in various videos and ciphers, it became a running joke. He claimed that he wanted me to meet his mom at his mom's club, but when we got there, I didn't realize it was a strip club. Arena. She's like, you know, Get Like Ranch. One of the most embarrassing moments, though, was when he posted a fake video. Many people were shocked to see the game popping up on dating shows, smiling and flirting for the camera. That kind of move might not seem like a big deal today, but back then, for someone trying to maintain a hard street image, photoshopped a photo of himself with Tupac on Instagram, making it appear as though the two had met. Fans quickly called it out as fake, and the backlash was immediate. People accused the game of trying to mislead his followers just to look more connected to a legend. What? You photoshopped yourself on someone else and put a picture out with you and Pac. It's Pac, but it's not you. When confronted about it during an interview, he tried to play it off, saying he only wanted to show love to Pac, whom he thought was one of the greatest of all time, not to mention the never-ending tale of how many times. The game says he was shot. Over the years, he's told various versions of the story, each slightly different from the last. And it's gotten to the point where nobody knows what's real anymore because he can't seem to stick to one solid account. Every time he adds more details, it starts to sound like another self-mythologizing story meant to boost his street reputation. There's also a darker side to all of this. Accusations of defrauding young unsigned artists have come forward to claim that the game charged them thousands of dollars, promising to put their songs on mixed apps or promote them on social media. But after accepting the money, he allegedly went ghost. No shoutouts, no promotion, nothing. However, beyond the inflated tales, one of the worst marks on the game's reputation is how he consistently managed to beef with big names, burn bridges left and right, and lose a lot of respect in the process. Just look at his feud with Jay-Z. Let's go back to 2011. When the game stopped by Big Boy's show for an interview, Dot asked the important questions right away. What's the problem with you and Jay-Z? He asked. The game didn't hesitate. He went back to 2004, when he was still on the rise and eager to learn from the greats. He claimed that he had pulled up to Jay-Z at the 4040 Club, seeking some wisdom. He asked Jay how he stays relevant, but instead of the gems the game was hoping for, Jay supposedly dropped a cold line on him. Most of you new rappers don't last long anyway. Find a new lane to the game. Jay-Z seemed to be dismissing him, and the game interpreted that as disrespect. That moment, whether it transpired exactly that way or not, set the stage for everything that followed. I asked him a question about how he stays relevant, and I didn't really like his response. Since then, I've been kind of taking shots here and there. So, you went up to Jay-Z, and he's handing you keep that, too, because it's classic. You approached Jay-Z and essentially asked, how do you stay relevant? Alright, he replied, adding, most of you new rappers won't stay long, anyway. Perhaps you ought to consider using a different lane. I don't do button-up shirts or drive was a statement that struck out on the game's initial hit, West Side Story. From Jay-Z's perspective, the feud may have begun even earlier. Since Jay-Z was the king of button-ups and Maybachs at the time, he naturally felt that line was directed at him. Even though the game later claimed that it was intended for Jewel, the damage was already done. To make matters worse, a few weeks later, the game released a mixtape that featured a Jay-Z verse on Get Your Money Right, which Jay-Z never gave him permission to use. From Hav's perspective, this wasn't just disrespect. It was sneak. Tensions continued to rise. In October 2004, the game went on Ed Lover's radio show to explain the whole Maybach and button-up situation. But by then, Jay-Z had already started to see him differently. I think it was more geared towards Ja Rule, because I remember Ja Rule being on like MTV Crib saying he had the first Maybach and he was on New York. And at that time, 50 was beefing with Jay, so again, I just jumped in. A few months later, on January 18, 2005, the game released his debut album. In an interview with Complex later that year, he stated, if I've got a problem with somebody, I'll say their name. He attempted to clear things up on the title track by addressing the miscommunication and even playing back to Ed Lover. It wasn't enough to put out the fire. On February 7, 2005, Jay-Z and the rock group went to Hot 97 for a freestyle session. Prior to his verse, Jay-Z made some disparaging remarks, saying, if you're going to use my verse, I need 700% of your record. This was aimed directly at the game, who had used that unapproved verse from Get Y'all. Put my verse on your records. I want 700%. I'm coming in for 700%. Do not put my verse on your records. Alright, yeah, young guns. Set it off. Easy, just like that. Meanwhile, the game was touring overseas with Snoop Dogg, having the time of his life. But the moment he heard Jay-Z disparaging him, it got under his skin. He called 50 Cent for advice. 50 told him to wait to respond to Jay-Z and let him figure out the best course of action. But the game wasn't going to wait. That night, he went on stage in Amsterdam and went off. disparaging Rockefeller, Jay-Z, and everyone else in the room. This move infuriated 50 because he was now involved in drama that he didn't want to be involved in. You know, when he had problems with Jay, he called me back in the States. I told him to just sit tight. Let me see what it's all about. I get in touch with Jay to find out how things are actually going. He walked on stage and commanded everyone to suck him off before I could respond to him. And I'm not uncomfortable with that. I don't work like that. Dr. Dre also made an effort to defuse the situation. After the Amsterdam stunt, he personally called the game and told him that Jay-Z had claimed not to be talking about him at all. But the game didn't trust him. After returning to the United States by plane, he hit the radio circuit right away. Hot 97. Power 106. Everywhere. He made an effort to have an honest conversation, acknowledging that it hurt since he had looked up to and studied Jay-Z. However, some of his remarks irritated 50, particularly when the game began claiming that he had no animosity toward anyone, including those 50 had issues with. At that point, 50's trust began to erode and the seeds of their own animosity were sown. Ironically, 50 and Jay-Z both contributed to the game during pivotal points in their careers. Aftermath considered dropping him at one point. Jimmy Iovine reduced his spending, but Jay-Z told people whether he liked it or not. .50 brought him into Gun It to increase their presence on the West Coast because this is a hit. The same individuals who had helped him advance in his career were now at odds with him. Let's go back to 2006. In addition to dropping Doctor's Advocate, the game made some lighthearted jabs at Jay-Z. He later regretted saying, "You 38 and still rapping," but he didn't get very far, bringing Beyoncé's name into the mix and generating additional turmoil. After hearing everything, Jay-Z, who had left rap to serve as president of Def Jam, wasn't impressed. Then 2008 arrived. According to a fan named JP, he met Jay-Z at Wimbledon and yelled, "When you going to go at the game?" Jay-Z smirked and said, "We ain't with him. We're going to let him commit." When the game heard about it, it went crazy, disparaging Jay-Z in interviews while promoting Lax, taking the line personally because he had previously had mental health issues. In a 2009 freestyle in Vegas, Jay-Z retaliated by criticizing Jim Jones, The Game, and Dame Dash. The Game yelled FJZ on stage in response during a performance in France. For years, there was back and forth. Songs, interviews, subliminals, and more interviews. Music applause, however. By 2015, the Game had become more introspective. He said he was glad he survived dissing. Jay-Z and still had a career. He remarked, "I'm probably one of the few guys who went at Jay's neck and was still cool after." However, it wasn't quite over. The Game claimed in 2022 that Jay-Z had prevented him from playing in the Super Bowl halftime show that featured Dr. Dre. His manager, Wack 100, alleged the Game urged Jay-Z to suck his D, but the Game later refuted that. He said he had no concerns with the lineup and respected the culture. Nevertheless, he minimized Dr. Dre's influence on his life and profession as though it were nothing. "And in my career, I have never been defeated by Dre. I've never had a song with Dre on it, and Dre been in my video. Snoop is very wealthy. Mim possesses a lot. I have none at all." Before long, he was asserting that Kanye West, with whom he had a falling out. Kanye's career had benefited more from the overly explicit lyrics about Kim Kardashian, his former wife, than Dre had. People who saw the Game's early days with Aftermath were eager to call him out by publicly insulting the man who had given him a significant break. And the entire world rolled its eyes at this comment. His most valuable hip-hop bridge was essentially destroyed by the Game. Since then, he has made an effort to retract his remarks in an effort to save face, but the damage was already done. The Game internalized a great deal of hostility toward Dre following the Super Bowl snub. He even utilized his resentment to defend some of his acts, such as saying that his diss, directed at Eminem, was just another attempt to exact revenge on Doctrine. Maybe Dre could have overlooked it if this had been an isolated incident. However, Dre's respect for the Game was ultimately destroyed by a larger pattern of behavior. Dre's distance was also influenced by the Game's attempts to discredit Kendrick Lamar. Praised as a rapper, he admired by Black Boy, Fly, and Kendrick. When Snoop Dogg handed the torch to Kendrick, the Game was there. Kendrick worked with the Game on a number of tracks over the years, and it appeared that they were amicable. However, at every stage, the Game appeared to discount Kendrick's skills, whether out of competitiveness or jealously. Can't nobody in Countdown Rap Game. Kendrick does it. I adore that. I flew past Kendrick when was on foot in a Range Rover and showed him how to execute the "Don't Play With Game" name, hard as confident rapping lyricist. Me. Once again, the Game let alcohol affect his conduct, spawning potential difficulties with another of Dre's proteges. Despite the Game's attempts to manage his narrative, it's clear to see why a lot of rappers have distanced themselves. His betrayal and ungratefulness have made it plain to individuals that keeping connections with the Game is more hassle than it's